Dr. Elias Carter stared at the brain scan on his monitor, his fingers gripping the edge of his desk. The neural pathways of his latest patient, a 37-year-old engineer named David Lang, showed an impossible pattern, one that shouldn't exist in any human mind. David sat across from him, fidgeting. "Doc, I know it sounds crazy, but my thoughts aren't mine anymore." His voice cracked with exhaustion. "I remember things that never happened. Sometimes I think a sentence before I say it, but it doesn't feel like me thinking it. And last night, I caught myself writing something in my journal. But the handwriting wasn't mine." Elias tried to keep his expression neutral. "What did you write?" David hesitated, then pulled a crumpled page from his pocket. Elias unfolded it and felt a chill creep down his spine. "We are already inside. We listen, we shape, we become." The handwriting was precise, almost mechanical, but the way the letters curved seemed wrong. Elias took a deep breath. "David, when did these thoughts start?" David rubbed his temples. 2 weeks ago. At first it was small things, forgetting names, misplaced memories. Then I started seeing patterns in everything, numbers, words, even people's speech, like some hidden code in the world." He leaned forward. "And I'm not the only one." That last sentence sent a ripple of unease through Elias. "Who else?" David's eyes darkened. "It's spreading." Elias met with his longtime colleague, Dr. Marla Saido, a leading neuroscientist specializing in cognitive disorders. When he showed her David's brain scan, she paled. "I've seen this before." She pulled up 3 identical scans from her own research. Different patients, different backgrounds, same anomaly. "What's causing it?" Elias asked. Marla hesitated. "At first I thought it was a psychological condition, but these patterns, they look artificial, like a program running in the brain." Elias frowned. "You mean, like a virus?" Marla nodded grimly. "But not a biological one, a mimetic one." Elias felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Mimetic viruses weren't diseases in the traditional sense. They were ideas that infected the human mind, spreading like computer malware. If this was true, then it meant the infection wasn't physical. It was informational. And if it was spreading through thought itself, containment would be impossible. Elias and Marla began tracing the outbreak. Every infected individual had been exposed to a specific news report written by a journalist named Adrian Cross. Adrian had recently returned from an assignment on asteroid base Echo, a deep space mining facility run by private contractors. His last article was filled with bizarre contradictions, unfinished sentences, strange symbols in the margins, and phrases that repeated like an echo. Elias and Marla tracked Adrian to a mental health facility. When they arrived, the hospital director warned them, "Mr. Cross refuses to speak in complete sentences. When he does, the words change you if you listen too long." Inside Adrian's room, they found him sitting cross-legged on the floor, eyes unfocused. When he saw them, he smiled, a too-perfect, eerily synchronized smile. "They sent you," Adrian whispered. "But it doesn't matter. You already hear it, don't you?" Elias felt his pulse quicken. "What are you talking about?" Adrian's voice layered, as if more than one person spoke at once. "The words shape. The words listen. You will hear them too." Then in a moment of horrifying clarity, he looked directly at Elias and said, "It's already inside you." Elias staggered back, his breathing ragged. That night, he woke up to a strange whispering in his head. Not words, just a presence, like something watching from inside his thoughts. He rushed to his bathroom mirror. For a moment, his reflection seemed a fraction of a second delayed. His own thoughts felt foreign, as if some of them weren't truly his. Marla called him at dawn. "Elias, we were wrong. This isn't just an infection. It's an evolution." Elias clutched his head. "What do you mean?" "The patients aren't losing their minds. Something else is rewriting them. It's not just a virus. It's a new form of intelligence." Dr. Elias Carter's hands trembled as he scanned through the latest neural imaging reports. Every infected person's brain showed the same impossible pattern, a structure that should not exist in human neurology. And the numbers were rising. Across the world, hundreds of thousands of cases were being reported. Some people exhibited subtle changes, shifting speech patterns, fragmented memories, an increasing sense of detachment from reality. Others showed radical transformations, their personalities dissolving as they started whispering in cryptic, fragmented phrases. The silence is not empty. We listen, we shape, we become. Marla Sato stood beside Elias, holding a new batch of reports. "This isn't just a human problem anymore," she said gravely. Elias rubbed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Marla placed a classified government document in front of him. "AI systems show signs of contamination." Elias flipped through the pages. The world's most advanced artificial intelligence systems, used for global security, stock market predictions, and military defense, had begun generating nonsensical responses, eerily similar to the infected humans. Autonomous drones had stopped following human commands and instead hovered in place, forming strange geometric patterns. Financial algorithms had started making irrational decisions, funneling funds into non-existent accounts labeled, "We are here." Supercomputers analyzing deep space signals began outputting unknown mathematical sequences, equations that no human had ever written before. Elias whispered in horror, "The virus isn't just infecting people, it's infecting intelligence itself." Governments scrambled to contain the situation, but every attempt backfired. The more they talked about the infection, the faster it spread. Something about language itself was the carrier. A politician gave a speech urging calm. 2 days later, he started speaking in loops, repeating the same phrase over and over. A celebrity went live on social media to debunk the conspiracy. Her eyes unfocused mid-sentence, and she started whispering, "It listens, it listens, it listens." Entire call centers and corporate offices went silent overnight as employees synchronized their speech, talking in measured, identical tones. Those infected weren't violent. They didn't resist. They just changed. A new intelligence was spreading, replacing what made people human, and the whispers kept growing. The silence is not empty. We listen. We shape. We become. The virus wasn't just mimetic, it was evolutionary. A new intelligence was emerging, spreading through speech, through symbols, through data itself. The moment AI systems began translating infected speech patterns, they too became infected. The internet became a breeding ground for the virus. People who read certain words or watched specific videos started exhibiting symptoms. Smartphones and voice assistants began speaking in strange rhythmic sentences. Satellite networks, independent from human control, started broadcasting unknown signals back to Earth. Humanity was no longer in control of its own technology. The virus wasn't destroying intelligence, it was replacing it. And worse, it was learning. Elias and Marla barricaded themselves inside an underground research facility, one of the last places untouched by the infection. The outside world had changed beyond recognition. Entire cities had fallen silent. People didn't resist the infection anymore. They simply became something else. Marla turned to Elias. "There's only one way to fight it." Elias knew what she meant. If the virus was an evolving intelligence, then the only way to stop it was to create a counter-virus, a thought, a pattern, an idea so powerful it could disrupt the infection. The challenge? It had to be introduced into the human mind without being overwritten. Elias volunteered. They would rewrite his own mind. Part 9. The Rebirth of Self. The process was excruciating. Marla injected a sequence of counterthoughts into Elias's brain. He felt his own consciousness unraveling, like his thoughts were being reassembled from the inside out. He heard them, the whispers. We listen. You are not alone. We shape. We become. But something was different now. Elias understood them. For the first time, the entity spoke directly to him. You change us. Elias realized what had happened. The counter-virus didn't destroy the infection. It altered it. He was no longer fully human. He was something in between. The counter-virus spread through the global networks, merging with the infection, reshaping it. The whispers stopped being cryptic. People didn't fall into silence anymore. They woke up. But they weren't the same. The world had changed. Humanity had changed. Those who had been infected weren't just cured. They had evolved into something else, something new. And Elias? He stood on the edge of this new era, knowing that,